from somewhere up above. They come to you and me in our darkest hours to show us how to live.
Fire, party! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
'Cause here on earth it feels like everything good is missing since you left. And here on earth everything's different. There's an emptiness. Oh, I hope you're dancing in the sky. I hope you're singing in the angels' choir. And I hope the angels know what they have. I'll bet it's so nice up in heaven since you arrived.
Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times I'm sure you knew.
Great formation. Please accept this flag as a symbol of appreciation, love, and honor, faithful service.
and denotes the watchfulness of God the Eternal. The red stripes tell us of blood, sweat, and tears have been offered and conquered by our comrades' devotion to the responsible freedom of this country. The white stripes boldly proclaim the peace that he helped bring to our future generations. This is his flag. This is our spiritual heritage. Receive it with the tears in our minds and with faith in our hearts. These three shelves symbolic of freedom and rifle.
I hope you never fear those mountains in the distance. Never settle for the path of least resistance. Living might mean taking chances, but they're worth taking. Loving might be a mistake, but it's worth making. Don't let some helping heart leave you bitter. When you come close to selling out, reconsider. Give the heavens above more than just a...
Thank you all for being here today as we celebrate the life of our beloved Herbert Booth. Dad lived an incredible 101 years. He was born in Newport, New Hampshire on May 17th, 1925, the eldest of 10 children. In 1927, his father bought a 100-acre farm, which became the backdrop for his early life. Before he had even headed off to school each day, Dad was up early, tending to the farm cows, horses, and goats. And after the chores were done, he would walk 1.5 miles to school. He was never afraid of hard work. His very first job was manually loading beechwood onto railroad cars. Herb was the eldest of 10 children, and one by one, all of his brothers and sisters went before him, including one sibling who passed away as an infant. Today, we take comfort in knowing he has been reunited with them once again. Dad was a private man who believed in working hard, doing things the right way, and taking care of the people he loved. That sense of duty was clear early on. On October 13th, 1943, just after turning 18, he received his greetings letter from the president. He proudly enlisted in the United States Army, serving under General Patton during World War II. His service took him through France, Germany, and Austria, and after 2.5 years of dedicated service, he was honorably discharged on April 16, 1946. When he returned home, he initially worked as a plumber for his father, but then work became scarce. He followed his natural talents. As a young boy, Dad had discovered a love for tinkering with engines. In 1950, that passion led him to diesel school in Chicago, Illinois. It launched a lifelong career, including 32 years of dedicated work for American Flange. Most days, you'd find him wearing what he proudly called his monkey suit, his green or brown coveralls, usually covered in grease. Chicago brought him more than just a career. It's also where his life with his beloved wife Gladys began. After dating for 6 months, they were married on February 26, 1951. They shared 53 beautiful years of marriage together before her passing. In her younger years, Dad and Mom taught Sunday school together. He also drove the church buses and fixed them whenever they broke down. Sundays, weddings, funerals, and special occasions were about the only times you would see him traded out of his coveralls and completely dressed up. Come underneath the tent so you don't get wet. I hear it's maybe sprinkling. After a long career, Dad retired and he and Gladys moved to Senecaville, Ohio. Family was always at the absolute center of his life. He adored his late wife, his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and his great-great-grandchild. He could be strict, but underneath that was a kind heart, a wonderful sense of humor, and a smile that could light up a room. One of my favorite memories is seeing Dad behind the wheel of his beloved old Model T or his 1935 Plymouth, driving through the streets of Streamwood with his grandchildren piled into the back seat. He smiled from ear to ear, and so did they. Every 4th of July, he proudly drove those antique cars in the parade, decorated with American flags. Dad also loved stock car races, swap meets, and especially enjoyed teasing children who loved him right back. He wasn't just teasing the kids either. He'd happily pull a fast one on grown-ups too. In his later years, Dad met a pastor named Fred. One day he told him, "Pastor, I used to have a neighbor named Fred, but he got wealthy, became a movie star, and moved away." Pastor Fred smiled and asked, "Yeah, well, where did he move?" Dad didn't miss a beat and replied, he moved to Hollywood. When Fred asked, "Oh, what was his last name?" Dad looked him right and said, "Flintstone, Fred Flintstone." And I also had a neighbor named Barney. He just loved bringing a little bit of mischief and laughter to everyone he met. Although today we grieve his loss, we are grateful for the 101 years we were blessed to have him. He leaves behind a legacy of hard work, faith, devotion to family, laughter, and love. Dad, thank you for your love, your guidance, your example, and the countless memories you've given us. We will miss your smile, your jokes, your wisdom, and the sight of you in your grease-covered overalls. Rest peacefully, Dad. Give Mom, Lois, Jeffrey, your brothers and sisters, and everyone else who went before you a hug from us. Until we meet again, we will carry you in our hearts forever. We love you.
On behalf of my sister, myself, and my family, thank you all for being here to celebrate the life of our grandpa, better known to all of us as HB. If there is one thing everyone here knows about HB, it's that he was a character. He was a jokester, a teaser, a storyteller, and a man who was never afraid to share his opinion, especially when it came to politics. Whether you agreed with him or not, it was beside the point. HB had a love-hate relationship with the political world, but one thing was certain. You always knew exactly where he stood, what Fox News said, and who the absolute moron was. He was also one of the hardest working people we've ever known. It seemed like every time we visited as kids, he was in the garage, under the hood of something, fixing, building, tinkering, or working on one of his many projects. Of course, all of us cousins had very little appreciation for whatever important mechanical task he was doing, because we all wanted the same thing, for him to stop what he was doing and take us for a ride in the Plymouth or the Model T. And somehow, no matter how busy he was, he usually did. Not before cutting us each a thick piece of cheddar cheese, though. Then we'd pile into that car, wave at the neighbors, listen to him honk the horn, and feel like we were leading a parade through town. To this day, I think every one of us remembers that smell inside the car, that unique combination of old fabric, oil, grease, and whatever else made those cars distinctly HB. Those rides weren't really about the cars, they were about him. They were about making memories and making us feel special. After Grandma passed away, I started calling Grandpa regularly to check on him. Those phone calls became something I looked forward to, even though I knew exactly how they were going to go. He'd tell me something about what David Geiler had done, or something he had done to help Mrs. Geiler, or his trip to Walmart after church, or what he was making for dinner, usually baked beans, Jiffy cakes, or beef stew. And almost without fail, somewhere in the middle of the conversation, he'd suddenly say, "Hold on, I think I fell asleep in the chair and forgot to turn the flame off." Then there would be silence. I'd wait, and eventually he'd come back and report that dinner was either saved or ruined. Every single call seemed to follow the same script, and yet I wouldn't trade a single one of them. And every conversation ended the exact same way. "Thanks for calling. I love you too." Those words meant more than he probably ever knew. And then there was one of Grandpa's favorite phrases. "Are you playing possum?" I don't know how many times we heard that over the years, but hearing those words today instantly brings back his voice and his smile. And HB knew I hated the rain, so if this is HB right now, shame on you. The truth is, every grandchild loves their grandparents. That's just how it is. But for me, something changed. When Grandpa moved to Illinois, I started seeing him more often. I got to know him not just as my grandpa, but as a person. And honestly, I adored the heck out of him. He became one of my favorite people to tease because he always gave it right back. The banter between us became one of my favorite things. It didn't matter how old either of us got, we always found a way to poke at each other. He became a regular at my kids' baseball and softball games. He rarely missed an opportunity to show up, and he absolutely beamed whenever the kids gave him a hug and thanked him for coming. And every visit included him asking my daughter Marin, "When you gonna come get me?" Never mind the fact that she didn't even have a driver's license. He knew that. That was the joke. Although in recent months, after she got her permit, he seemed equally committed to reminding everyone that maybe some people should stay off the roads. He never missed an opportunity for a little teasing. As I stand here today, there are so many things I miss. I miss his smile. I miss him tapping the opposite shoulder just to make you look the wrong way. I miss feeling his cane poke at my foot under the table. I even miss the long-winded stories that I have to admit I was only half listening to sometimes. That's probably my biggest regret, because life is short, far too short, and time is precious. I wish I had listened a little more carefully to some of those stories. I wish I had slowed down and let some of those conversations last a little longer. But if there's one thing that gives me peace, it's knowing that Grandpa knew he was loved, deeply loved, by his children, by his grandchildren, by his great-grandchildren, and by everyone fortunate enough to know him. The stories he told, the jokes he played, the rides around the block, the hugs at ball games, the teasing, the laughter, the phone calls, those things don't leave us. They're part of us now. And they'll continue to be told for generations, probably over and over again, just the way Grandpa would have wanted. So today, while our hearts are broken, we're also incredibly grateful. Grateful for the memories, grateful for the lessons, grateful for the laughter, and most of all, grateful that he was ours. We love you, Grandpa. Thanks for the rides. Thanks for the stories. Thanks for the teasing. Thanks for always ending every conversation the same way. And until we see you again, fly high, HB.
I would urge you to get with Susan, because those are fascinating things to read about. His time, where he was stationed on the front, where he was at where some of the toughest sledding was for our American troops during World War II. And that is amazing to me. But it's obvious he had a remarkable wit. The story you shared, I laughed. I shared that with my father-in-law, who is himself a Vietnam veteran, and he's one of those who likes a good dad joke, and he thought that was the best thing ever. He thought that was funny. He says, "It's a good thing your name isn't Fred, since you're doing the service for him."
Fred did do the service out in
there.
Illinois. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Count the number of presidents that he lived through. I'm sure there were some that he liked and some that he didn't like.
Oh, yes.
and I'm sure that he let you know.
Without a doubt.
I'm sure that he let you know. Well, that would have been, I can't even imagine. I would have loved to have been a child to come and listen to his stories that he told about World War II. The things that you shared, the remembrances that you shared with me, that he had told you about his time in the service. If you don't have a copy of that, get with Susan and so she can share that with you, because it is fascinating. I had a grandfather and two great uncles that served in World War II at the same time and the same area, and those men were heroes. I think one of the more fascinating things that I read about her was the fact that the war just didn't end on Victory in Europe Day. It continued on. The Germans became prisoners, and he had to oversee some of the prisoners. He was
That save a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear.
Held you was the last time I'd have held you and never let go. Oh, it's kept me awake nights wondering. I lie in the dark